It looks like a company out of Japan may have just saved Hollywood. Doing everything that Disney isn't, Nintendo may have demanded that the Hollywood writers put aside, put away the stupidity and the garbage that we've been force-fed for so long and said, no, Mario is the hero of his own story. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. Part of that explaining entertainment as of late has been describing the downfall of Disney. It has been a tremendous 2 weeks. It has been, well, just unbelievable in many regards. Whereas Chapek had been tossed aside and many thought Iger would come aboard and suddenly right the ship, well, maybe he still is, but it seems like he's taking many of the same steps people said that Chapek was likely to make as well. Now, this isn't a Disney video, but I say that as a preface because, well, not every company out there, not every entertainment endeavor is failing. And although Disney is struggling, others are not. In that regard, I'm referring to the new Super Mario Bros. Movie, which will be releasing shortly. It is now on track to possibly have revenues in excess of $1 billion, which would make it a bigger franchise, and I say franchise now, a bigger franchise potentially than the Minions. And you know what a huge thing that has been for Universal, for Illuminations, yet Mario is on track to do even better. Now, before we get into how this has come about, and this is going to be very interesting, I have direct messaging from someone out of Hollywood who was a part of some of this back and forth regarding pre-production of the movie. But before we get into all of that story about how the Mario Brothers movie was saved, let me remind you, if you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. The Pro Show starts this Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then every Thursday thereafter. We'll keep that thing running for years and years and years. It will be the bane of all the untruth tellers of Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Now, we've talked about in the last few weeks, and this has been so funny to me, we've had some people comment when I've done videos about Disney Plus is collapsing, or Star Wars is down, or Victoria Alonso is behind the current MCU. And you'll have people comment and say, oh, come on, give me a break. We've heard this all before. I'm like, you've not heard it from me. And then guess what? It means we've had such a quick turnaround of these things coming true. It's just been amazing. And then yesterday in the AM, we had the video come out where we talked about the comic book genre, the superhero genre, how Shazam and Quantumania seemed to be indicators that everything was falling out. The bottom was dropping, where you no longer had a safety net at the bottom. You know, you could no longer count on a certain number of consumers coming to watch your product. And there were some people who said, and this is the very small minority, but there were some people who said, oh, come on, it's just Shazam. Oh, come on, it's just one movie. Oh, come on, it's just Quantumania. And I'll be darned, 4 hours later, you've got Nerdrotic coming out there and saying that nothing except Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness made money, which, by the way, confirmed what Valiant and I had been saying. You've got Mr. H Reviews coming out and saying everything on Disney Plus in terms of Marvel outside of Loki has been delayed. You get the idea. It's just so funny. And, you know, everything's falling apart over there at Disney. Not the case with Mario. But here's the cool thing about that. The cool thing is that it turns out that Nintendo may have saved it all. Isn't that something? That the Western Hollywood studio creatives, they just couldn't help themselves. They wanted to push the Mario movie in this same direction that we've seen out of these other studios. The failed strategies of Pixar, the failed strategies of Walt Disney Animation, etc. And so Illuminations was starting to go down that road, allegedly. Now, what I'm going to do for all of you is I'm going to read as closely as I can the two messages that I have received from this individual out of Hollywood I don't want to go, well, you can understand why I don't want to go into specificity about who this is. They would be in big trouble. And so I'm going to read this as closely as possible. There are going to be parts of this that I can't read to you because it gives away like where they were at when the conversations were had about this and people who were at the table. And we can't do that. So I'm going to read it as best I can. If there are places where I stumble, just know that I am literally reading this directly to you on the fly and changing it. I have not prepared this going into it. So I'm going to read directly from and then on the fly dynamically change so that I can adjust this. All right, so this individual says, remember when I sent you some of the information about Mario and Zelda and Nintendo World, which all came to be true? Well, I've got some info for you that's going to be coming from the same group of people and told to me last year, which I've been holding on to and have now verified. Apparently, at one point, Peach was way too prevalent in the movie. She was saving Mario multiple times, in addition to being the main focus of the Mario Kart sequence in the movie, which is spectacular. She was shown to be He was also shown to be a bumbler and no longer endearing or charming in the storyboards, but just kind of a dumb everyman. The male trope that we've seen so many times before, with Peach, that's Princess Peach, being the brains and the bronze. She would come up with the main plan. She was annoying and off character to the Nintendo executives who looked at the early drafts. The brother dynamic was also thrown into a loop because Peach was so prominent in the film. However, Nintendo demanded that this be adjusted. Nintendo demanded that Mario be at least half of the movie in terms of success, in terms of heroism, in terms of focus, which was appropriate given that Luigi is also in the movie, which meant that that second half of the focus of the film would have to be divided between Luigi, Princess Peach, and others. Adjustments were made, thankfully, after Nintendo made the demand. It might be nothing, and things have been put back in line to some degree, but it's not known yet whether the Hollywood execs and writers have managed to fully satisfy what Nintendo wants, which is for Mario to be the hero of his own film. It continues on. Nintendo at several points reined in the filmmakers, but it was early on. The princess is absolutely a part of Peach's character, but the feeling is that the film latched onto that far too much to compensate for the fact that she was being heroic. There was a juxtaposition of her being both the feminine princess and a girl boss who was undefeatable. Remember, this is the key point that Nintendo stressed to Universal. Casual fans know that Mario is the guy who saves the girl from Donkey Kong or from Bowser. That's what they know because that's the game they've played. That's the expectation. And when those expectations are there, you need to meet them. Thus, the movie needed to be altered so that Peach would be the one in need of saving, even if, for modern sensibilities, it needed to be adjusted so that she is not helpless. This is the classic licensed product disconnect on the family film side. Leaving the social messaging aside for just a moment, the movie needs families to be a success, and that includes girls. This is totally obvious. It's understood by all stakeholders. However, all stakeholders know that in this case, Mario is, as a percentage, not as a universal truth, a male-dominated intellectual property. And males will primarily be buying the vast majority of merchandise, although it must be said that the Mario franchise and all of the Nintendo characters are beloved by girls as well, and they will purchase it, but not at the same degree. Yes, this is a case where the movie demo doesn't match the demo of licensed product exactly. That's not unusual. So the movie needs to, quote unquote, girl up in order to maximize the revenues off of families. However, in the research, it will be the boys who will likely want to do the repeat viewing for Mario. Thus why it was always so important, beyond being consistent with the IP, to make sure that Mario was the hero of his own movie. In the not-so-distant past, this wasn't an issue because it was understood by all where the focus should be for any given project. Sure, add some emphasis on this character or that and set the movie in family territory, no problem. But don't lose focus of the main character. Don't lose focus of the main draws. In this case, it's Mario, Luigi, the key villains, and then Princess Peach. That's not a gender issue. That's not a statement about the value of men versus women. It's just the case that people have been playing as Mario and Luigi for far, far longer than they've been playing as Princess Peach. She didn't come along as a playable character until much later, and the narrative is all centered around these two plumbers. It's no longer a question of turning up the volume a little on this character or that to widen the appeal of a movie while keeping the project focused on merch-selling pillars. That's how it used to be. That was always the sub-mandate of past movies. Mandate number 1, entertain. Mandate number 2, find a way to make more money. Stick to what makes the IP, which is where the money is. And also realize that, and this is a hard truth, no intellectual property can be everything to everybody. Some will skew to girls. Some will skew to boys. Some older, some younger, some to different ethnic backgrounds, some to even different geographical backgrounds. Some IP will have wider appeal than others, and sometimes to different political backgrounds. But none that I know of have evenly sliced demo pie charts in a perfect world. Maybe it could happen, but this isn't. If you try to force it, the first thing you will lose is the merch. Anyway, all the stakeholders have now come on board with Mario. And although there will be remnants inside this movie, inside this script of what once was, it turns out that a company from Japan helped Western companies see the way and forced Universal, allegedly, to move the Mario movie in a direction that will likely help it make $1 billion simply by pleasing the people who want to be pleased by this movie. All right, so that is what we have today for you about the Mario movie. I think it's fascinating because it goes in the absolute opposite direction of what we've seen happen to Star Wars and Marvel. And so if you started this movie and wondered, why is Pro talking about Disney at the same time that this is supposed to be about Mario? Come on, Pro, get off of it. Get off your soapbox. Well, that's why I wanted to make this point. We're going to have these two different ideologies collide. You've got the attempt by Star Wars to take a male-dominated intellectual property and move it into probably the feminine. You know, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, you say equality of gender approach. And then you've also got the same thing with Marvel. Marvel's been doing the exact same thing. They've become really vehicles of intersectionality dogma in terms of entertainment. Now we've got Mario coming out, and it's going to completely go in the opposite direction. It's going to cater to the people who enjoy that IP. It's going to do it based on the demands of a company that's outside of sort of the Western strangleholds that we've been watching. And so I find that fascinating that we're going to get that head-to-head. It's not often that you get this where you can say, look, there's one strategy that Hollywood's been trying, and here's another strategy that Hollywood's been trying. And, well, that Hollywood has not, let's say that. And they're going to go into the marketplace. It's interesting to me that at the same time that Star Wars and Marvel seem to be falling apart, that there may now be an emptiness, a void in the marketplace, and that this Nintendo Cinematic Universe that we talked about exclusively first here on the WDW Pro channel and is now coming into fruition, that is filling that gap that exists. And that gap didn't have to exist. Disney had that on lockdown. All they had to do was to give people what they wanted. Now, before anybody think, pro is just being pro-masculinity or pro-male-dominated franchises, let me say this. I would, if somebody tried to do the same thing in the opposite direction to the Hunger Games or to Twilight, I would say, what in the world are you thinking? It would be just as ludicrous to take the franchises that girls love and turn them into vehicles for masculine or male-dominated merchandising. Can you imagine if they tried to go back and revive Rainbow Bright, the IP from the 80s? If they tried to revive Rainbow Bright, but they wanted to make it be masculine, and now Rainbow Bright has an axe and she has a much stronger male companion who goes around and slays dragons with his sword of colors. That would be so stupid. And it's the same way in the opposite direction. It's okay for boys to like boy things. It's okay for girls to like girl things. And it's okay for both sides to like the opposite, right? One thing that's not okay, though, is don't take an existing franchise and modify it into what you believe the world should look like, or what you believe you could engineer into something new. It exists and it's popular for a reason. Leave it be. Let it thrive. Let it blossom by being what it is. And I hope that, given that we're seeing all of this collapse on Disney's side, that they will begin to course correct in that direction. But whether they do or not, it appears now the competition is already here, and Disney will no longer have the number of slices of that pie they once had, because Mario, Minions, maybe even Shrek coming up, they're going to be taking some of those slices, and families are going to be happier for it. We love some good competition. Folks, if you like content like this, make sure to click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. You've watched the entire video. Let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below. We really do care and respond to what you are saying and thinking out there. This is not an echo chamber. It's not a monologue. This is a conversation between you and me. And you are the electricity that drives all this. Without you, I'm just sitting here by myself talking. But it's such an honor to get to share my time with you each day. Thank you for being here with me and for getting to do this together. Also, the Pro Show starts Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. It's live. We'll see what happens. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.